We're going to talk right now about former President Trump's tax plan and what it would mean for the country if it comes to fruition. Former Council of Economic Advisors Chairman Jason Furman is here. He's a professor at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. And EJ Antoni is an economist at the Heritage Foundation. EJ, I'm going to go to you first. When you think about what you heard from the president last night, but maybe more in detail, we I think, have a better understanding of what his tax plan would be from that Business Week article where he said he was going to bring the corporate rate down to 15%. What do you think it does for revenue overall, long term?
Well, in terms of overall and in the long term, we definitely see increases. You know, we have this fallacy that somehow corporations pay taxes. They don't. People pay taxes. The corporate tax rate is passed on. It's passed on to shareholders in the form of lower returns. It's passed on to customers in the form of higher prices. It's passed on to workers in the form of lower wages. And so by reducing the taxes that corporations pay, you not only increase economic growth, but you also decrease the tax burden on each of those three groups.
Jason, you there?
Yeah. I mean,
okay,
look,
so
the tax foundation.
To me, the question is not just what it does to revenue, but what it does to overall revenue, including, by the way, individual taxes, and of course, whether whatever total bounty is collected is going to be enough to deal with the debt and deficits and even just our day-to-day costs.
Yeah, I mean, look, this Laffer curve thing here is nonsense. The Tax Foundation is a conservative organization. They're enthusiastic about tax cuts. They've said that these corporate tax cuts would cost something like $750 billion. I don't know a single credible Republican economist who thinks these tax cuts would come close to paying for themselves. But how are they going to be paid for? They might actually be paid for. And that's the remarkable thing, by a proposal to raise tariffs on every single American consumer. So you're sitting at home, if you've bought a toy, you've bought a TV, you've bought a car, there's a good chance that some or all of what is in that came from abroad. You're going to be paying a higher price on all of that. And that's what's going to be paying for these corporate tax cuts, is tax increases on the middle class. Really, really poorly designed, growth reducing tax increases.
EJ, you want to reply to that?
Oh, sure. You know, the exact same people who are saying this now also said that Trump's tariffs that he put in place in his first term were going to do the exact same thing, and that didn't happen at all. In fact, several analyses were done, and they found that about 80 cents on every dollar of tariffs was not passed through to American consumers, but instead was paid for by Chinese producers. And so this idea that somehow if you increase taxes on foreign producers, it's automatically going to result in a pseudo tax increase on the American middle class, the data just don't support that at all.
Jason?
In his first term, Trump raised taxes on people that bought things like washing machines. This time he's raising taxes on people that buy anything that has any component that's made abroad. That's $3 trillion. Economists have studied the incidence question. There's a lot of questions on this. Yes, a little portion of it is born abroad. But by the way, a lot of that corporate tax cut is a corporate tax cut that benefits foreigners. So I'm not quite sure why you'd want to do a corporate tax cut that gives money to foreign shareholders while telling Americans they have to pay more taxes on virtually every good that they buy.
EJ, does that make sense to you? I mean, look, as I'm hearing Jason talk about it, and then there's the second question, by the way, of if you get down to 15%, how much does that change the game? Getting down to 21% was one thing. 15 is a whole different level. Does it make the U.S. even more competitive? Yes, except it really brings you in a place where how much more investment will you actually get as a result of it?
Well, it's a great question. And again, if we look at the record of the first Trump term, we can see that we had a lot of re-onshoring, I should say, of corporations. And that resulted in an increase in economic activity. And in the long run, that increases your revenue as well. Look, we don't have a revenue problem at this point in this country. When we look at the federal budget, we have a spending problem. And what we need to do is increase not the tax rates, because that's not really going to bring in much more revenue. We need to increase growth, and we need to decrease spending. That is the only way you're ever going to be able to address this country's long-term fiscal
EJ,
trajectory.
that may be true, but there's no conversation about reducing spending. And so what we're just doing is, in some ways, maybe increasing revenue, but maybe not.
Well, certainly we need to have a conversation about decreasing spending. But in the current political environment where you have essentially a divided Congress and you have a White House that wants nothing but to spend more, especially on all their useless green energy projects, that's never going to happen.
Jason, final word to you, sir.
You asked me to devise a plan for economic growth. I'd say broaden the base, lower the rates. I would not say put on lots and lots of tariffs, and I would not say do tax cuts that you can't afford. I think 90% of Republican economists would agree with everything I just said. It's a shame that the president...
Real quick, when you say broaden the base, how would you do it? And what number would you bring it down to, both on personal and then separately on the corporate rate?
Look, on the personal, I think we could basically keep the tax rates we have now. If we were aggressive about broadening the base, you could do it with things like the health exclusion, the mortgage deduction. But most people, other than me and maybe a previous guest of yours, Doug Holteken, would want to do something like that. On the corporate side, I don't think there's much base broadening left, which is why no one's proposed it. So, the rate we have now is completely fine. In fact, we may not even be able to afford to stick with that rate.